Good morning, business students. So I was reading this article in the Times yesterday. It was a massive article, so I've abbreviated it for you. And we all know some of these copycat brands that are out there. And I ask myself frequently, whilst going into Lidl's or Aldi's or other places, and how do they possibly get away with it? And look at the difference between this Thatchers original cloudy lemon cider and this Taurus one. Fascinating. How do they possibly get away with it? Well, they don't always get away with it. So the well-publicised Colin the Caterpillar for Marks and Spencer's with Aldi's or Lidl's, one of the two, I get them confused. And then we can see here Doritos next to the tortilla chips, the caramel biscuits with very similar packaging. You know, how many millions, tens of millions of pounds have Jaffa Cakes spent on reminding me that I might want to be loyal to their biscuits? And then Lurpak versus Dane Pack. You know, it's an absolute rip-off. And they do it on purpose. Same type font. If you look at the type font here for Coleman's mustard and this one, it's relatively the same. It's slightly different, but not much, let's face it. So actually, when I read this article, I thought about the links between the PED coefficient, so my reaction to prices, my sensitivity to prices, and we imagine the angle of the curve of the demand curve when we do the supply and demand diagrams, and that'll be my sensitivity to price changes. And maybe by making their mustard look very similar to Coleman's, I might think, oh, it's next to each other on the shelf. I'll give this one a go. Maybe it's roughly the same. Maybe I believe it is. Maybe I feel I've got more of a deal than I would if it just says Aldi's on the tin. So we shall explore that from the perspective of market positioning. So here's the cut down case study for you, and I've linked the original one in here. If you've got a spare 10 minutes to read that, please go to the Times, and you should be looking through this for evidence. So we'll go to the case study. The question first. So using your knowledge of PED, so you're going to have the language of PED in here. Okay, so there's no numbers in here. We're not going to calculate PED, but we're looking for the language of it. Assess the likely impact. Well, we can see that this is the start of our hook. Yeah, so of what to what. Okay, so of offering discount clones, yeah, quote from the case study, on its market positioning strategy for its own label products. So we've got own label products, not just market positioning strategy for the entire company, even though you probably get away with that. But we're thinking about impact of this on this. Okay, so we've got to use the language of market positioning. As always, we are going to start with a well-defined key term to give us the wonderful foundations. Now, this is quite a complicated question because we've got PED, we've got market positioning, we've got own labelled products. It is a complicated 10 marker, so we might get a bit tempted to waffle on and spend too much time on it, and I advise you not to. So, PED refers to the responsiveness of the quantity demanded of a good to a change in its price. Very textbook, but that's what PED is. Lidl's market position might be measured by the perceived quality and price of its mustard. So we've got a little bit of context there, and also, more importantly, we've got two metrics to do with market positioning strategy. Okay, quite important that we have the word perceived in there because it is customer perception. And as we know from teaching this in class, my perception might be different than yours. We're both right, by the way. But when we're advertising to people, we need to be thinking about how we're going to communicate things like quality of our mustard and the price of the mustard. And they literally put it next to Coleman's on the shelf. And that's the key thing here. So if we're thinking about a positioning strategy, they literally put it on the shelf next to it. They do that with the butter and the other stuff as well, except for Taurus. They don't stock that. So Thatchers weren't very happy about that in the court case, which they ended up losing, by the way. So we've got a good definition there. And because this is assess the likely impact, this is a more simplistic 10 marker if we want it to be. And we could just write one paragraph in favour, one against, answer the question, justify, and move on to the 12 marker. Now, I've done some simplistic versions of chains of argument here again for you, like I did in the earlier video today. Offering discount clones, that's not classed as application, by the way, because we've got it in the question up here. So go careful just re-quoting the question. Leads to Lidl attracting price-sensitive customers, leading to an increased demand of its own label products, leading to some customers perceiving they are getting better quality brands at a lower price. So this is sort of a repeat of the definition up there, okay, but at least we've got some PED language in there, which is our price sensitive, leading to increased demand, own labels. Now, because this isn't brilliant context, then we're relying on price sensitive customers to be the context in here. Now, in the case study, it does mention about those customers, here we are, interest in lower priced alternatives. So it is contextualized, not normally as good as we would like, but there's context in there because we've got price sensitivity referred to in the case study. However, this approach might lead to not attracting consumers with brand loyalty to Thatchers, better context, or lead to those who perceive the own brand product Taurus as inferior in quality, leading to lowering the PED coefficient. Yeah, that's nice use of application because of the theory from PED, and limiting this strategy's quality and price benefits among less price sensitive customers. Now remember, this is quite a complicated question because we've got PED, we've got market positioning strategy, and even though I did my best to try and limit this to 3 chains of argument, I've put limiting in bold there for you because we've got PED coefficient and limiting this strategy's quality. This is another chain of argument. There's 4 in here. Maybe you can spot another one. But we have to make sure that we're honouring PED, using the knowledge of PED and market positioning strategy, which is why we did that quality and price of its mustard to help set the scene, and more importantly, to remind me, the student, to keep coming back to some of these, even though it does tend to repeat itself, but it's in context, so I don't care. Let's answer the question. Overall, Lidl's strategy of offering discount clones is likely to strengthen its market position for its own label products. Let's quickly go back to the question and see if we've answered it. So assess the likely impact, positive or negative, strengthen, fine. Discount clones on its own label products, not just Lidl's. Okay, we've sort of answered the question by just rewording the question. It's not justified yet, and I would argue that it probably isn't contextualised because that's lifting straight from the question. Let's see if we've done it even better. Here's that quote again, so let's see. Without Lidl using discount cloned products, it might struggle to appeal to price-conscious consumers. Okay, now we've got that context again in there, so we know that's context, who seek the quality of famous brands. That is application. Famous brands is an interpretation of Thatchers, for example. Potentially repositioning its own label products to a low cost, low quality market position. So again, we've used the wonderful word without to say without using this, if they just use their own brand, they might be seen as even more low cost and low quality. This might not be what someone wants if they're seeking the famous brands. At the moment, I can go on into Aldi's, Lidl's, and I can see Coleman's next to their own brand of mustard, and maybe it looks the same, the text is roughly the same, the lid looks roughly the same, it's next to each other, and I'm willing to take that risk. If it was a totally different brand identity, Tesco's value mustard in their blue and white container, I might think, do you know what, I might just go for Coleman's, thank you very much. So actually, I think the same as Thatchers about this, and that's why they took Lidl's to court and lost, by the way, or Aldi's, sorry. I think what they're doing is they're very, very close to the legal line of copyright and brand infringement here. But the courts have ruled in their favour, and actually all of this publicity has probably done Aldi's the world of good, and maybe more price-sensitive customers want to go and get their mustard from Aldi's. Hopefully that helped. Please note there's not a lot that's been written for this 10 marker. You can decide if it's level 4 or perfect, or if it's level 2. It's up to you. Is it perfect? Probably not. We're aiming for level 4. Is it accurate? Is there context throughout? I think so. And does it demonstrate a really good foundation for the knowledge to start off the answer? Are there coherent chains of argument? Well, we know, sort of, interpreting the exam reports, that we need a minimum of 3 for the 10 markers, more for the 12s and 20s, we know. But this is a 10. It's a time trap. You don't need to write War and Peace. Is it balanced? Well, in favour, against, in favour, and counter-argument. There's lots of balance here. Well contextualised, of course. Using the data shows an awareness of competing arguments. What a lovely awareness of competing arguments. Leading to a supported judgment because we've imagined the alternative if they didn't do it. Hopefully, it's around about mid to top level 4. And if it's not, send me an email and tell me how to improve it. Have a good day.